I have adorned my Red Bull Formula One attire today to talk about something very near and dear to my heart. Red Bull Racing, and specifically their driver lineup currently. As you may know, or for some of you who don't know, Red Bull is a Formula One team that is currently dominating the Formula One scene, mainly with their number one driver, Max Verstappen, who recently became a 3-time world champion. But that does not mean it's all smooth sailing down at the energy drinks company. Their second driver, Sergio Perez, is shitting the bed. He's making big doo-doo in the sheets, and there isn't really much that anyone seems to be able to do about it. He's been given multiple chances by his wife and by the team, and he simply will not sort himself out. All you really need to do is take a look at the Formula One driver standings to see exactly what I mean. First and second, obviously, is the two Red Bull. As I said, they are dominating. But if you take a look at the points, 466 for Max Verstappen to Sergio Perez's 240. Now, if you didn't know, that amount of a gap between teammates is shocking. That's not all. It's also on the track where Sergio seems to be making a bit of a mess up. If we take a look at this article here, it's titled "Sergio Perez says sorry to his wife after being caught on camera with another woman." After he won the Monaco Grand Prix, he was seen partying very enthusiastically with his Ukrainian supermodel, and then had to apologise later on. I don't know about you, but I don't think that's someone just giving him a handshake and congratulating on his good job on the track. But it gets better. The rabbit hole goes deeper. This weekend, actually in 5 hours after recording this, it is the Mexican Grand Prix, Sergio Perez's home race. Now, usually you'd expect this to be a great celebration for the team, and everyone should be out supporting Red Bull and Sergio Perez in particular. However, Red Bull have had to hire security for their number one driver, Max Verstappen, because every Mexican is pissed off that Max Verstappen has been beating Checo so badly. Now, obviously, this may partly be because Max Verstappen is on God mode. He obviously has decided that he's just going to go absolute insane mode on everyone and absolutely whoop their asses into oblivion. I'm talking smacking their arseholes so far they now shit in the stratosphere. But that is also partly due to Sergio Perez pulling an absolute blinder of a stink on everyone. He is absolutely reeking up the Red Bull garage. So obviously, if I'm moaning and groaning so much, maybe I should provide a solution. And so a solution I will provide. It is my personal opinion that now it is time for Red Bull to make a change. Instead of having Sergio Perez be running loose in Red Bull energy stations and parties, getting into endless bottles of tequila and Ukrainians apparently, they should send him back home to his 3 children and his wife, and bring in a young, more suitable driver. And that is, of course, Liam Lawson. I am, of course, talking about one of the lesser-known drivers on the grid, Mr. Liam Lawson. He came in after Daniel Ricciardo, the replacement for Nick de Vries, the Formula E champion, which is Formula One but electric cars for vegans. Wow. He came in for 5 races to take over from the injured Daniel Ricciardo after he got a boo-boo on his hand after replacing the absolute atrocious Nick de Vries. You will not have heard about Nick de Vries because no one hears about Nick de Vries because he spent most of his time fiddling with himself at the back of the grid. But he came in for Red Bull's junior team, AlphaTauri Honda, the team that represents Red Bull's very, very extremely overpriced, as you can expect, clothing brand. Either way, he came in for 5 races, and the 2 people he replaced, his predecessors, Daniel Ricciardo and Nick de Vries, both of which are race winners or champions in other categories, beat them. Quite frankly, in 5 races, his 2 predecessors both scored 0 points, and he scored 2. Now, that may not seem like a lot compared to Max Verstappen's 460. However, on the worst car on the grid, that is mighty impressive. Maybe if he, after 5 races, can start scoring points on the worst car on the grid, maybe he can focus more on the road instead of the Ukrainian models. Either way, apart from the massive audience that Red Bull are now growing in Mexico and the millions of dollars of sponsorship he brings in, he's not doing much for the team. Even though they're both still winning the Constructors and the Drivers' World Champions, it's still pretty embarrassing for them to almost be losing second place in such a dominant car to Mercedes and the Leaf Eater. I'm, of course, talking about Lewis Hamilton, who you all would have heard of because he goes around and puts his nipples out on Instagram. But, of course, that was because Lewis Hamilton recently got disqualified from the third place finish. But to wrap up, what we need to do, essentially, in my opinion, is Red Bull need to get rid of the Sergio Perez and bring in Liam Lawson, because I think that would just be better for everyone. Bye.